Idris.
Hello. We are back. Thank you so much for anyone that is deciding to join us live today. I am delighted to be back with Chanti from Aquarius Rising Africa 2 and Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. It's absolutely freezing here. I've had to move in away from my fire because I've had so many computer problems, which I want to tell you about actually, because it's quite relevant. But how are you doing, Chanti? How's your week been?
Yeah, crazy, interesting, but yeah, actually good, Other than, my mom has had a bad fall 2 weeks ago, and I had to have her at the hospital this week because everything just swelled up in the arm. And thank goodness she's okay. But yeah, crazy time, really, isn't it? It's really a crazy time, actually, Catherine. I mean, I think, it's also just this time of the year when we're looking at what happens spiritually worldwide at this time of the year. And, people like yourself and me as well, we're always under some kind of a target. We're always some type of a target. So we the initiators of change in many ways. So I think it's a crazy time. How about you? How was your week otherwise?
Well, it's you know how sometimes expressions are so. I was just about to say it's funny you say about your mum's fall, but of course it's not funny at all. And you're like, oh no, that's completely the wrong expression. So I don't mean it's funny, but I've had a bit
Sure.
of a really weird week, and I'm so pleased that I've sort of been building up over the years not only a lot of tools in my toolkit to sort of help you through stressful time, but also an amazing range of practitioners that I'm friends with, because it's just been a weird week energetically. My mum's not been very well, but she's sort of on the mend. But I won't bore you with the details, but the weirdest medical cock-ups with sending the wrong information and everything that, just awful. And then one of my lovely neighbours, who's well into her 90s, she's just an adorable woman. She had a really bad fall, and she's fallen and she's dislocated and broken her shoulder really badly. And I'm not hoping, I will be going in to see her in hospital, because the poor lady, she didn't want to go into hospital because she's well into her 90s. And she's like, whenever my friends go into hospital with something like this, they don't come out. And so I suppose I'd be really interested to hear from people joining us. We'll get on to the subject of friends and what we're going to be talking about. But I'd be really interested. Thank you, anyone who's joining us. Let us know where you're joining us from. Oh, sorry, where's that? Got echo. Let us know where you're joining us from. And also, when we're talking about this, please let us know what resonates with you, because that's why we love to do it live, because we share that energy. But I felt so sorry for the Chanti, because she had to go into hospital. She was so brave, but she's like, don't leave me, I'm now unsupervised, don't let them make decisions for me without there being someone there to help her. So it really made me realize, which ties into our subject matter today, of not taking friends for granted when we work with friends, how that energy exchange works. That there's so many people on their own at the moment, and that don't necessarily have family members that can go in and advocate for them. And having been in hospital recently with a member of my family, the thought of someone being in there on their own at the moment with do not resuscitate orders on, and the chaos that it is in the UK, I don't know what it's like elsewhere. It's really scary. And it made me think, how can I really free up more time in my life so I can be more available to help people like this, really?
It's, you make such a good and valid point, because that is so true. I don't know. I mean, I've spoken a bit about this on my channel 2 weeks ago. My mum, she was coming to you, and I'm literally sitting here, and there's a step 5 meters away. She tripped on the step, and I was literally watching it happen in slow motion. It's the most traumatic thing to watch your mum trip on a step, fall flat on her face, and there is nicely zero I could do about it. I was like, it was very hectic. Thank God, my mother is very strong. She's 84, but she's very strong. She's very resilient. She's been taking her vitamins her whole life. She's very positive. She's always, she's a strong, healthy body. So thank God for that, because how she hasn't broken a bone, a hip, a arm. And what she did was she tried to stop herself with her right hand. So the entire hand bent back. And no one knew. And of course, it was fine for a while. And I had it in castor oil packs and stuff like that. And then the beginning of this week, everything just swelled up. So we actually thought it might have been a fracture. So I had to take x-rays on, I think it was Tuesday, that's right. But you talk about hospitals. So I took her, and it's a nice hospital, a private hospital here, for x-rays on her arm. I was mortified. Now I'm not a fan of hospitals to begin with. You're so seldom going to find me in there. But just the people walking around, all of them sick, going for some type of test, some type of X-ray, some type of something. And there was this older lady, and she was sitting on when my mom was in for the X-ray, sitting on the chair next to me in this little hospital gown, freezing. Yeah. And I said to her, "Can't I give you my jacket?" I said, really, it wasn't that cold outside, but in these places it's damn cold. She says, "No, it's okay." And then she explained to me her condition. And I just gave her a hug. And I said to her, I so wish you well. And I so wish you a speedy recovery. And then she told me her husband had recently passed away. And he had taken these things. And it's just tragic. And you're just seeing these people walk around, many of them without families this time of the year. And it's so good what you're saying, just to go there and see what one can do in these type of situations, right?
Yeah, it makes you really, we talk about gratitude, and we're going to be talking about how we can be grateful for our friends today, which is a really, really important subject. But I think when things like this happen, and hi, Amber. Amber's joining us from Texas, and Amy Jane is from Yorkshire. Thank you so much for joining us. Anyone else, let us know where you're from. But things like this really set things into perspective. And it's really weird how, this aspect of a lot of human nature, Chanti, and anyone watching, it's really interesting how sometimes it takes something really bad to happen for you to just stop, hit the pause button, and realize what's really important. And when this happened to my neighbor and my mom and things, and I'm really sorry to hear Amy Jane has had a spinal injury, wishing you lots of love and a really speedy recovery, Amy Jane. But it really, really makes you realize just, oh, wow. It made me realize, Chanti, that every day is packed full for me, between looking after all my rescue animals, the family, looking after the house, cooking healthy food, trying to grow your own food, all the work and everything. I'm like, gosh, I need to somehow relook at what I'm doing and reprioritize, so I have more space free to actually be available to help more when needed. So which ties us nicely into the friend side of things, really. And tell us why you wanted to talk about this subject, because it's a really important one, Chanti.
Well, I think, in my business especially, I've been a traveling healer for 20 years, which means my business has never relied on, I've had several corporate offers during this time, and it's so crazy, isn't it? I don't know if you have had a similar thing. At the time you're at your most broke,
yeah.
right? Then suddenly you'll get this massive offer that is just like, people, I know there was some of my friends at the time in years gone by would not believe I would turn this down. But the bottom line was I always had to compromise somewhere. Yeah. And it was, for me, it was very important that I continued to do my work, because the work that I've created has not come from anyone. It's come from my heart and my soul, right? And I knew that if I had to move into the corporate world doing training, because they always wanted me to do health and well-being and wellness, but using their product, because they felt my product was too forward thinking or too far forward advanced for the average corporate person. I was like, sorry, no can do. And it's always been, and I'm not even going to lie and say I wasn't tempted sometimes, because you better believe I was. And it just was an absolute no-go zone. So for me, over the years, my business is always, it's been word of mouth. It's been mainstream. I've traveled a lot. I've, wherever I've gone. And, for me, I've been very lucky. Never have I had to do two jobs. It's like the work that I did spoke for itself. So it was word of mouth. I'd go to Namibia. And for 6 weeks, I was chock-a-block full. My workshops were fully booked. My one-on-ones were fully booked. I mean, I was doing sometimes, depending, between 7 and 9 appointments a day, depending on, and my appointments are 90 minutes long. But then I'd have kids or do sound, which makes it shorter. My weekend workshops were full. So I'd work my buns off, right? And what I found as well during this time, it was my friends were the most supportive. And I always have a friend's price, right? So when my friends come and see me or they want something, they get a friend's price, which is I certainly don't charge astronomical rates. In fact, I should be charging a lot more than what I do, but I don't, because I like to make it accessible to everyone, right? But I have found the importance of having your friends support your business, because they're the ones that are often going to be the ones that actually spread the word, right?
Yeah.
They're going to go, they're your best PR agents. They're your best marketers. That's your sales team. So for me, that I have been very blessed in the sense that most of my friends, I'm not going to say all, the majority of them have always seen the value of what I do and have supported me in the sense that they would send their friends and their colleagues to me. Many a day I would be, just give them freebies, whatever. If I'm, let's say, staying at their house or whatever, working from their place, it would be an exchange type a relationship, But just to have that support me was very amazing. But on the other hand, I've also seen how there would be certain friends, and not just, I'm not talking mine, I'm lucky that that's been in the minority for me, but friends who expect that you give them things for free. The way I see it, I would much rather support my friends and pay them even full price, right? So that, because I know it's difficult in the industry when you're starting a business or when you're running a business or whatever. And for me, that was an interesting topic, because I think that for one of the areas we're looking at is a very important one. I'd like to also see what the viewers have to say about that. If you guys have any friends or something like that, maybe even family in business, but then that you would charge or not charge. How does that work for you, right? In terms of supporting your friends. I don't know, Catherine, you and I know we do similar type stuff, work for ourselves, also in the health, wellness industry. So I'd be interested to hear from you as well, what your experience around that has been.
Yes, it's absolutely fascinating. And I think it's such an important thing, because I've also got a lot of friends that, are various healing technologies, yoga teachers, work with animals, all sorts of things. So it's a really interesting one. And for me, it's been very, very mixed. So some of my friends a lot of them are really supportive of what I do, but I have had a handful that, always want everything for free. Which is interesting dynamic, but because actually most of the time the ones I find that want things for free are the ones that have got the most money, which is really fascinating. And I do get that. That's not necessarily a criticism, because I think it's like when you're abundant in any area of your life, you can take that for granted. It's a bit like how we opened our show. If your health is really good, it can be quite difficult to step into the hands of someone that's dealing with a long-term health issue, either for themselves or one of their loved ones. But what I have seen a lot of on the friend side of things is almost sometimes, if you know someone really, really well and they move in and they're evolving and moving into different skills that they're developing for themselves, sometimes it's not respected so much if someone knows you. So someone else can be doing something very similar, and if they're on the other side of the world, they must be better than someone that's, been your long-term friend and you knew them before they did that type of work. So I think that can raise interesting issues. I've got a couple of friends that I know who are hairdressers, And they have a nightmare time because everywhere they go, everyone just says, oh, can you just quickly do something with my hair? You know, and you're like,
just trim my hair, come
yeah.
round.
And of course,
Yeah,
also
exactly.
they take such pride in their work. So they if they're going to cut someone's hair, they want to do a proper job, not a quick fix, sort of, you know, like you do to yourself, get the kitchen scissors out. But what I've also found sometimes is we all know when the going gets tough, that's when you really, really need your friends the most. And also it's sometimes when you really find out who your true friends are. I mean, I'd love to hear the listeners' experience. Look at what's happened over the last few years. How many of us have been really surprised by which friends have stuck with us when we're talking about certain controversial things and which ones hasn't. But I think valuing your friends and supporting them and showing you've got their back can come in so many different ways. It can be, you know, as you say, sharing and being your marketing team. It can be, you know, paying for the service and using it. It can be encouraging you along the way. And
or
I
swapping.
think,
You know,
yeah,
I mean, what I love to do
brilliant.
with my friends is we trade. You know, like we'll trade on things. I mean, my one friend is a brilliant chef, for example. You know, and she makes her own range of spices and herbs and things, and it's absolutely delicious. And I'm currently teaching a beginner yoga course for 8 weeks. So I know that she's also just started this new range of spices and things, and it's all vegan and what have you. And we've traded. You know, I've said, she said, well, I don't really have bucks right now. I'd love to do it. I said, well, what you got? Show me what you got. Show me what you got. And then she said, oh, awesome. I got that. I said, I'll take that. And I actually ended up paying, or I would need to end up paying her for some of the stuff because of her range. And that's absolutely fine. But I think it's so important, you know, and I often speak about this in my courses and my workshops and to my individual clients and things as well, you know, that it's really so important to support that, to support each other, and especially at these times, because we are a growing community. And, you know, we've been talking for a while about investing in our communities, right? Because we really want to stop this cabal nonsense that's been dumbing us down for so long, that's been giving us this disgusting food that we have no idea what's in there, cardboard food, as I call it. You know, I've just 2-3 weeks ago started my own veggie garden. Yeah, you can see my beans, they're this big already. You know, I can't wait to have my veggies grow and swap and share, you know, with whoever. So I think it's such an amazing time that we can do these things. So I think we should. I really, really think we should. We should be supporting each other, you know, in our missions. And rather than looking outside for these big companies and these chain stores that cost an arm and a leg. And I mean, good grief. I'm not a one that complains about prices much. I've never been that person, you know, but I cannot believe how expensive food and things have gotten.
No,
in the last 4 or 5 months, particularly. I don't know if that's your experience there as well.
Globally, because I was speaking to some people in America and they were saying absolutely the same. And in the UK, it's absolutely crazy the way the prices have gone up for heating, for fuel, for food, for absolutely everything. And I think everyone's really, really feeling the pinch. And I love this bartering side of things. We've always done it. I think in the animal community, we've always done it a lot, actually. And last night I was over having a most amazing healing session with one of my brilliant therapist friends, and I've just recorded a show on that, and that's when all my computer just kept disconnecting from the internet and everything, so I've got to piece it all together now. But it was incredible, and we just do that as a swap as well, and it works really, really well. But also it's fantastic when you can experience what your friends have got to offer, because then you can be their biggest advocates, which is so, so important. And I think with the community we've got here, I'm just looking through some of the comments. Thank you for joining us. You know, Amber's saying that as a massage therapist, she could really, really, you know, tell you some stories about that. And they sure do. And Badger Girl, never had any friends even growing up, but you've got one that's a real gem now. That's so fantastic. And it doesn't take a lot.
That is fantastic.
What about you,
I'm
Chanti?
so happy for you. Friends are so important, you know.
So
I'm
important.
very much a loner. I'll tell you, I'm very much a loner, and my friends all know that. But I have my friends, and I'm fortunate enough to have traveled quite a bit. So lots of places in the world, I have friends that I go to Namibia for sure. I've got friends there. I go to travel around South Africa for sure. I go to Thailand for sure. All sorts of places. And it's so good, so nice to have a friend just to talk to. So I really, Badger Girl, I really, really wish you luck with your friend, because it's just beautiful to have a friend. It really is, to sit and gossip. Come over for a glass of wine.
Isn't it? What you can go for friends, because you're not responsible for each other in the same way that we can feel responsible for family members and things. It's a very freeing and rewarding relationship normally. And I think a lot of people, certainly I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and I've been through this personally, where their friendship groups have really evolved over the last few years. So a lot of people have dropped away. Either we've been dropped by our friends, or we've chosen to drop friends. And that
I've definitely been dropped.
Yes, a lot. But actually, it's been the best experience for me, Chantel, because it's really made me realise what I want to be in a friend, what I really value in a friend. A two-way thing. It's really made me take a really good look at myself and where my next areas of development and current areas of development need to be. But it's also made me really, really much more conscious and aware of what I value in the friends that I have got, and how great it is to have this diversity and, different personalities and people that do look at the world a different way, so that you can get a little bit of balance there.
Absolutely. It is really important, and also, when we're looking at things like just support, just general support, it's just so important to actually have that, where you have someone you can rely on. I know, for example, with my mom again, I do sound healing Tibetan singing bowl. When she has had her aches and pains and things, I just lay her on my healing bed and I just play sound for her. I do that, and then that's what I do as well. My friends and my other friend does the shamanic journeys, so I'll go, please come over, I really need some whatever, and then we arrange that and we swap like that as well. So whatever we have, but then there are certainly times, let's not kid ourselves, that we probably do need the money as well.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, with my friends as well, there are definitely those times when I've needed the money and I've said, listen, I need bucks. And they say, okay, cool, no problem. And then we would do it for money. And then for me as well.
Yeah.
There's no problem with that. And, I think we also need to get over this thing that to pay that money is such a fearful thing. But I mean, that is really just a topic for another day. And it's a topic on its own, right? There's nothing wrong with paying money or asking for money. There really isn't. And, I look especially in Africa. I mean, these guys, whether it's South Africa and especially Zimbabwe is our neighboring country, these African people make these most beautiful little artifacts and things, really, really beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And yet we will go there and bargain them down.
Yeah.
We will bargain them down. And like there'll be the African lady sitting on the side of the road selling her fruit. And I'll hear people say, well, how much is your watermelon? And she go, 40 rand, sir. No, I'll give you 30 bucks, 35. And she go, okay. Now, would you go into Woolworths or Spar or Pick and Pay or whatever, that's what we have, yeah, and bargain with a counter, with a cashier? Of course not. Why do we do it with people who can ill afford it? That's another big issue I've had, right, with this sort of thing, is that why do we bargain or we go? There are certain things. You go to Thailand, these street markets, it's a known thing. You go and you barter, right? It's like a trading thing. They're always going to give you the higher price because they know this is like a trading thing. That's more fun for me, right? They know They know what their market is. They know what they can afford. They know what they can't afford. And there'll be times I go, no, can't be doing that. But, when we're like really looking at, let's say, vendors, street vendors and stuff like that, why do we bargain them down? For me, that is something I'll never do that. I never do that. If they come to me and they say, okay, how much is this? Okay, that's $30. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to take 4 or 5 of those. Do you have a special price for bulk? Because for me, that's bulk. And they go, yes, I do. What's your price for bulk? And they'll give me their price and say, okay, cool, I'll take it. So that kind of stuff. But it's like amazing to me that we will oftentimes barter the people down that or sort of bring them down on their price that can ill afford it. And I think if we can afford to pay something from a street vendor of sorts, we should pay. We really, really should, unless it's ludicrously expensive.
Yeah, I'm seeing some comments that, with a few people, thank you for sharing about how they've lost a lot of friends during the COVID and how it's really given them a good reset. It's fantastic when we can sort of get over the initial, shock, trauma, whatever it is. But losing friends, it can be really painful. It doesn't have to be, because sometimes it can just be a very natural evolution, but it can also be very painful because it does make both sides of the party sort of sit there and really examine things. And I think, valuing
families too at this time. I mean, right? Just when we look at this sort of, sorry to interject with you there, but I'm just thinking, you're talking about losing friends. How many of us haven't had family members that we've actually lost during this time? And, I think it's even with families being more painful, I think, people in our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. That's the way I see it. So we just got to accept what the lesson, the gift is, and then move on from the experience. But I know with family, it's a lot more difficult, right?
I'd love to hear people's in the chats, and also I'm going to ask you, Chantel, so what have you learned about yourselves, and asking this to you, Chantel, as well, about how you can be a better friend?
Oh, definitely. I am the friend because I'm intuitive. I will always be the friend that will phone them at the right time. They might not hear from me for 3 months, but suddenly I'll get the notion that I need to call this person. And very often it's at a crucial time. But I'm not a good person that stays in touch once a week or whatever the case might be. So I have learned that for me, that's important. So I've actually made a concerted effort, and I'm going to say, especially over the last year or two, to actually stay in touch more. To just, you don't have to call. I don't necessarily call, but I'll just send a message on WhatsApp or something. Hey, I'm thinking about you. How's it going? And then they will respond, and I can gauge by the response whether they're in a good place or not. And then I will maybe even call or just stay in touch. Everyone knows, my friends definitely know they can rely on me. That's for sure. I'm that friend you can rely on, and you can call me at any time of the day or night and I'll be there. That's who I am. But definitely to be more just connected. I'm always there, but I'm not always connecting because I've got always lots of things going on, and I like it that way. I live on my own. I've created my life that way, especially in the last 6 years or so. My life is my work right now, and I do what I love, and I love what I do. So that's great for me, and it involves a lot of people, but it often means that my friends get neglected when it comes to just having chats with them or Friday night Zooms or whatever the case might be. So for me, with my friendships, that's what it is. Just to be more connected. They know they can rely on me, but it's more, oh, my lights have just come on, on load shedding, yeah. But definitely just to be more consistent in the way. And I found that's very much appreciated. It really is much appreciated.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Let us know. Hi, Karen. Let us know in the chat what you've learned about how you can be a better friend. I mean, certainly one of the things, there's a few things I've sort of learned is not to give unsolicited advice.
Yeah, I've learned that a long time ago. It's so terrible.
Yeah,
Now I'd rather give
so
no
terrible.
advice.
It's so awful to be on the receiving end of it. You know, it is really frustrating to be on the receiving end of it, even when it's well intended, you know. And I think I agree with Karen to be a good listener, to really listen, because the thing is, all of us, regardless of what your personality is like, regardless of what your strengths like, you're all going to go through different phases and periods in your life. For sometimes where you're as strong as an ox and nothing can knock you off target and you're really going there. And then other times when you're going to be feeling more vulnerable or going through a lot more through, you know, whatever reason that might be. And allowing people to really, I mean, again, I'm definitely the friend that you can always rely on, you know, that, you know, if you need me, I'll be there. And that's really, really important to me. And I suppose one of the things I've learned a lot is that, you know, we've all got different things. And just because that's really important to me doesn't mean that I can expect all my friends to be like that as well. So, you know, just to be a little bit more making sure you're giving everyone the space to be themselves and be an individual. But also I've got one very, very good friend. I won't mention her name because she'll probably be watching, but we've met through over the last few years. And what I love is the conversations we have is to see how people, when they're a friend, how they're really unafraid to express what they need from you in that friendship, but expressing it in a way, she's really good at expressing it in a way where there's no pressure to conform. She's just being really honest about communicating what she needs out of the friendship. And then there you go. Now that's up to you whether that meets you. And I love that. I think sometimes as friends we can forget to really tell each other what our expectations are or what our wants and needs are at that particular time, but not expect it from the other person. Give them the choice as to whether that resonates with them or not.
And I like what is it, Karen or Karen? Pelliciotti sounds Italian. To be a good listener, and that's one thing I've learned as a healer. Everyone needs to be heard. Yeah. Really, you know. And I have so often had people, and you know, if they come and see me the first time, I mean, as much as what I'll talk away on my shows, like that first 90-minute session they have with me, I just listen. I'll ask a few questions and I just listen. Unless, of course, they're very quiet and I've got to draw it out of them, then I'll ask questions. But to listen and to take an interest in what somebody else is doing, to ask them about their life, to ask them about their day, to ask them about their animals, to ask them about their parents. You know, in Africa, it's a very, very strong tradition is to ask about your mother. That's the first thing you do. If an African person, when they come to you, when you meet them, they'll say, "How is your mother?" And I'll say, "My mother is very well, thank you. How is your mother?" And then they'll ask about the father. And then we'll ask about each other's father. And then the family. But the mother is the most important person they'll ask about because she's the one that gave birth to you. And although, which is quite a strange thing, right? In the African, I mean, you look at, I don't think any human being, I can't say that, but I think, let me not generalize. There is, I can't imagine that a person has a harder life than an African woman, honestly, because the African men often are very, very, very chauvinistic. And obviously, especially in apartheid Africa, you can imagine how that has had the domino effect onto the African woman as well. And she really very oftentimes carries a very, very strong burden for the husband. And very often they're abusive and they drink a lot and they'll beat her up and it's horrible. And then she takes care of the kids and often they're working away from home. You know, it's that sort of thing. But yet the mother is highly revered because she's the creatrix in the family. So stuff like that, you know, you ask about the family and you listen. You know, you listen and you know, just even if it's for 10 or 15 minutes where you're exchanging pleasantries, it's about listening and asking the person and taking a genuine interest in their day. Not, "Oh, how are you? Some fun, da, da, da." Yeah, and many of us, we do that just, you know, like because it's pleasantries we're exchanging. It's polite. but to genuinely take an interest in someone else's life. And when you know somebody's going through a hard time, to just message, I'm thinking about you. Is everything okay? Let me know if there's anything I can do. You know, that for me is very important.
Yeah, it really is. And there's so much, you know, I think for me, the overriding thing for this conversation is for everyone to really value their friends and perhaps, you know, have a good think about it after today and sort of think, okay, where do I want to step it up a bit? Because there's a lot of times where we expect things from other people that we're not necessarily giving ourselves. And I think that's a really good reflection to say, you know, if you're the type of person that really needs regular contact and your friend doesn't, then don't you be the one to reach out, and don't feel that it's got to be, you know, you've both got to perform the same role in the friendship as well. So yeah, I'd really love to, you know, people to really, I think friendships are so important. We need them more than ever now. We really, really do, when there's so much isolation, so much distance, so many different challenges. And, you know, perhaps everyone after today is going to feel quite inspired to go out and reach out to some of their friends. And, you know, I like that
and keep the friendship alive.
Meeting
you know, I love the idea of just keeping the friendship alive. You know, if you and your friend haven't been in touch for 2 or 3 weeks, be the one that drops a line and say, hey, I'm missing you. What's up? Be vulnerable with your friends, you know, without whining. Really, you know, there are definitely friends that would come and all they do is whine. And that for me, I must say, as a healer, has often been a challenge, because I have found it difficult sometimes to socialize, and people will know what I do. They will sit next to me, and the whole night they will tell me about their problems. Now, honestly, I'm off duty then. So don't be the friend that whines in someone's ear. Seriously, please don't. Just don't be the friend that whines in someone's ear, because there's a time and a place. It's like if you're an accountant, right? I'm not going to be sitting at a social gathering asking you about my taxes and having an in-depth conversation about my tax and how you can tell me about my tax when you're off duty. It's the same thing, even if you're a therapist, a counselor, a healer, whatever the case might be. Just like there's got to be boundaries, but it's up to you. I mean, and I found that for myself as well. That's where I had to put very strong, not nasty, but I had to put boundaries down in terms of just get up. Okay, let's change the topic now. Come and see me tomorrow, or make an appointment with the next week. Let's talk about it then. You know, happy to do that then. Right now, I just feel like having another glass of wine. I mean, I sound a bit like a boozer. I'm not really, but I'm just saying.
We know what she's like. She's got one hidden under the table now. So, yeah. So, but yeah. I like that. Yeah, if this was red wine, it would be a little bit dodgy. I love hibiscus tea. I'm so addicted to hibiscus tea at the moment. Yeah, I love that, Karen. You know, we say no shop talk when off the clock. But yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us today. I think we wanted to talk about friendships because it is so important for all of us. It's important to be a good friend and to be there for others. And it's really important to have those friends in your life and sort of treasure them when you've got them. And just really grow together.
Support their businesses, really. Support their businesses. I mean, like a friend of mine is, like a month ago, they started a restaurant or takeaway here. And I mean, for me, if I don't know what to cook or I'm lazy to cook and I've got a bit of spare cash, I will get in my car, drive 2 kilometers and go and support his business right now, because I know they really need it, you know, and I'll buy a little bit extra just because I can and keep it in my fridge for a day or two for lunch tomorrow or whenever it might be. I just think it's so cool to be the person that can support others in a way that you can. I mean, obviously, if you can't do that, then don't do that. It's also not good to sell yourself short, but support their businesses and you know, be the person that offers to pay, even if you can't pay full price. Offer to pay what you can. That is, as someone who's worked for myself in the mainstream for more than 20 years, those are the people I won't charge. Those are the people I'll say, you know what, I so appreciate your offering, but I'm good. thank you so much. I'm giving it to you on the house. That's what I'm saying. It's just like, just being prepared, because it's always going to come back to you. That's the way I see it anyway. Sorry, Catherine, I interrupted you there. I apologize for
That's right. I can't remember what I was saying, but that's fine. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. Really appreciate it. If anyone's watching this on replay, do let us know in the comments. You know, what I think it's really important to share what we have all learned, because it's going to resonate with someone else and sort of say, oh yeah, that might be nice. And I think, remember that it always starts with us. You know, we can't, it's unreasonable to expect other people to give to, you know, more than we're able to give them. And I think that will change at different periods in your life. You know, you can be there for each other when you're down, but making sure that you're giving as much to the relationship as other people are. And that really makes you a good friend.
Does too. Too.
So we will be back next week on your channels. We don't know what we're talking about next week yet, or are we carrying on?
We're talking about Khalil Gibran, the prophet.
Okay, we're going to carry on with that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we're carrying on with Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. So join us for that. It's really beautiful. I don't know if you ladies looks like they're ladies in the chat, have read the book of Khalil Gibran, The Prophet. I mean, it is just beautiful. We started last week on my channel. So if you guys haven't watched that yet, we were talking just with, and you know, just one or two little pages of each topic: children, marriage, food. It's just amazing. Very wise words, and just getting feedback on that. Love that. Now we're going to go through the prophet again. Yeah.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks, Chanti. Have a lovely weekend.
Guys.
Next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.